domain and range. So, but we're going to start with creating a graph with range. So, we want to create a graph. We want to create a graph that has y values between 5 and 6, includes 5, but doesn't include 6. So y's range is up and down or left and right? Up and down. So I'm going to go down to -5, and anywhere along here, I can put my -5. So we want to put a -5 closed or open? Closed. So it can be anywhere along here. It does not have to be at that point. And then we want to go up to 6. So on the 6, closed or open? Open. So this is one possible answer. Okay, it does not have to be right here at this point, and it does not have to be right there at that point. Yes? Hold on just one second. I'm talking right now, so I need you guys to be quiet, please. Thank you.
When you're plotting like the 6 on the top, does it look
so like this 6 right here, yeah, it could move up to here if you wanted to, or over to the left, yeah, anywhere. Just so that's your highest value is a 6. Good question. So y is less than -2. How would we create a graph that had a y next less than -2? Okay, so I'm going to go to -2 on the y. And I'm going to put an open circle, so I can put it here or anywhere along here. And less than would be down. I can go anywhere down. I can go like that. I can go straight down. I can go this direction down. I just can't go up. Does that make sense? Okay, so now I want you to draw a graph. Who do you try? How'd this one go? I don't know if this is. Okay, I'm seeing lots of different answers. This is an answer I saw a lot of. And there's other possible answers than that, too. So we just have to make sure we go up. That arrow is pointing up. And then the arrow is also pointing down to negatives. Questions on that? Okay. On to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to find the domain and the range of each. So it's going to be a little bit harder because we've got both the domain and the range that we're talking about now. So domain is left or right or up and down? Left and right. So what would the domain be here on this one? Omar. -5. Less than or equal to x. -5, and then to what? So we're looking at our x's. So Omar, did you give me that -5 or did somebody else? Oh, okay. So do you want to finish it? At 2, that's right. Less than or equal to 2. So less than or equal to on both there. And if you wanted to write that as 2 of them, you can write that as 2 of them. So I had some questions last class. This is the same thing as x is greater than or equal to -5 and x is less than or equal to 2. When we write it as 1, that's how we have to write it, like that. So now we want to write it in inequality and interval notation. So what would that be in interval notation? Omar, tell us what that would be in interval notation.
-5.
Yeah, and brackets or parentheses? Brackets, because they both have an equal to. Does that make sense? Okay, so what about the range on this one? Range, remember, is the y's, which are what directions? Up and down. So what would the range be? Now, can you tell us what the range would be on this one? Up and down. So what is the y value at that point? -1. So that's our smallest, -1. Less than or equal to x. And less than or equal to, what's the y value there? 6. Yes. Oops. Y. That makes sense? So what is that in interval notation? Actually, what would that be in interval notation? Yep. Okay. 5. We want to find the domain and range on 5. So what would the domain be on number 5? Nate, can you tell us what the domain would be? Is domain left and right or up and down? So is domain left and right or up and down?
Domain?
Yeah.
Left and right.
Yes. Yes. So it's going to be x has what is what? And is it greater than or equal to, less than or equal to? And greater than or equal to? Greater than or equal to, yeah. So, interval notation a little bit harder on this one. What would the interval notation be? Yeah, -1, comma, infinity. And then bracket on the -1. Does that make sense? So, range. Range is up and down. Jack, can you tell us what the range is? And
0.
okay, and what about 0?
That's range.
So is our y value is just equal to 0, or
No,
it's okay?
no, it's y. Yeah, y is greater than 0.
Good. And is it greater than or equal to, or just greater than?
Greater than and equal to.
Good. So this x value is a -1, but the y value is 0. So that's why we have y is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, what would that be in interval notation? Raphael.
Interval notation for y would be 0,
And then what about the 0, bracket or parentheses?
Bracket.
Yes, good, because it's got an equals. Does that make sense? Okay, let's move on to number 6. You guys still looking at that? Okay, number 6, domain. Emma, what do you think about the domain? Yes, so our negative infinity and then less than x, less than infinity. So when we have it written like that, it's much easier to go right to interval notation. So what would the interval notation be on that one? Gianna? Yes, and what about the parentheses or brackets? Yes, on both, that's good. And then what about the range on this one? Really, can you tell us? Okay, unless you wanted to. No. Okay, really, can you tell us what the range would be on this one? So the -4, good. And what about -4? Our y value has what relationship to -4? Very good. And then what would this be in interval notation? Shireen? Good. And what about parentheses and brackets? Good. Okay, and then number 7. What is the domain on number 7? Anais, can you tell us what the domain would be? So remember, domain is left to right. 0, and what about, so in our domain, x has what relationship to 0? It's greater than 0, that's right. Greater than 0. So now interval notation is a little bit trickier. What's the interval notation on that? Nick?
0.
Good. Yep. And then parentheses, good, parentheses on there. Okay, what about the range? What's our range on this one? Trace, can you tell us what the range is?
Is less than.
Good. Y is less than 1. Good. Do you want to try the interval notation, or you want somebody else to do that?
Would it
Be careful. This one's a little harder. Good. Yes.
1?
Yes. Good. So it's hard on this one for us to get used to this starting with the negative infinity first. Good job, Trace. So we want to put that always the smaller and then the bigger. So that negative infinity comes first there. We're used to thinking of the infinity as a positive number. It's the first time, first class probably, where you thought of negative infinity. And so we have to always put an interval notation smaller than bigger. Go ahead and do you try. Is anybody still looking at this? Okay. Yeah, it was never needed. Oh, was it the weekly ones?
There's no
That's what I meant. Wait, why does that keep happening? Okay, domain x is greater than or equal to 2 comma infinity with a bracket on the 2, and then the range is from negative infinity to infinity. Did you have a question on that? Okay, on to the last ones. So now we're going to do creating with given a domain and a range. So this will be the hardest that we've done. Because we've done some creating with domain, we've done some creating with the range. So number 9 is a little bit difficult. Think about it for a moment. Anybody have any idea where we might start? Yeah. What's that? So we want to draw a graph. So what point could we start at?
-1, -4.
Yes, -1, -4 is perfect. And we have a closed circle or open? Closed. No options on this one, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Where would the other point be? 5, 0, open. And then we just want to connect them. So it could be a curve, it could be a straight line, but they have to be connected. So anybody know why that's the only option there? I mean, I can move this around if I want to, this curve, so just so long as it's within this area here. Uh-huh.
Because it already has a domain and a range.
So, but more specific, yes. What's that? There's no infinities, but there's also, see how this is less than or equal to, and this is less than or equal to? And this one's less than, and this one is less than? I have to keep these two together because I can't have a point that is both an open circle and a closed circle. So I have to keep this x, the -1 and the 4 together. And then I have to keep the 5 and the 0 together because I have to make both of those open. Does that make sense? On that? Okay. So what about number 10? How could we draw that graph? Sorry, this should be a negative infinity here. So change that on your paper. That's a typo. It should be negative infinity. Think about that. What do you think this graph should look like? Any idea how this might, what this might look like? So we want this to start at 2, an x value of 2. So anywhere along here, and then we want it solid, and then we can put curves, we can put straight lines, but it's going to have to go to the right. Why? Yeah, and that's, we have positive infinity here. So, is there a question? Okay. And then notice how the range, we go up to positive infinity and down to negative infinity down here. Does that make sense? Okay. So I saw some people drawing a curve on this one, which is fine. You did that, that's fine. Just has to be arrows, top and bottom, and then going to the right. Okay, go ahead and do the U try.
Is this right?
Well, I should have put a domain and range on that one.
Even more tired.
Okay, there's an example. Does that make sense? We have to go up to positive numbers. Okay, can I get somebody to pass out the worksheet for me? Oh, look at you.
Because you know that's a classic.
Wait. Remember that one? I'm moving it first. Please have your homework. I'll come on and check that out. What does this look like? Ow, ow.
Basically, it's just gonna be.
Yeah.
My teacher told me
By the time you get to
and then it comes with so when you go to the bathroom, you go back and then you have to put your laptop on someone's desk and like your phone's
Why me?
Oh, you didn't swap.
pointless. I go someone like invested in everything just to or go for like a top. You go for the water bottle and it's just like really high. You have to go on the laptop, go in the kitchen, do that, and then go to the
I think it's been August 25th all day. Yeah, it's been like such a long day.
It's a girl. She like just walk around this block.
Yeah.
I
know.
My principal, my old school, used to have like a cardboard cutout of himself, and he'd like, it would just like spawn random places in the library, and you'd walk in and think it's him, but it's like a cardboard cutout, because it looks real face.
Would that be like?
Like I never saw him, I just saw his son.
I've never. That's crazy.
Teacher. I don't call teachers by like hey teacher. I like my like hey this and this and that. I'll just walk up to them and be like, what do I do?
Is it one of them?
I don't know, like, I never even spoke to my
I thought you said good job to me when you're saying good job to
That's so funny because that's where you could find
okay,
What does he look like? See that? Oh yeah, yeah. He was.
Wait, why'd you do that? Oh, it says possible.
Who's that? Oh, is he the one that wears that red? Is it from with glasses and stuff? Wait, was he the one that was?
Honestly, I think it sounds
That was which one is that? Oh, and then the other one is the gray hair guy with the glasses, and he's kind of skinny. Oh,
I don't really have practice on Friday because I have
you help me go get a laptop.
I'm not. I'm just looking for your words.
I thought people like him.
So, look at them all. Look at.
Oh, and then have the
No, I could do it. Like, and I was like, I need that extra. I did the
The one that just poked his head, not the other one. Not the one you're talking about. I don't know who that guy that just poked his head. And he poked me and
Whoa.
says everything.
What thing?
Someone yesterday when I was going to class, I was like August 25 Alg, and I was walking to class, and they're just like I want to pause. You know something?
do you want one?
See how it's always like,
No.
We don't know how to yell at somebody. Not like, yeah.
Insane.
Oh my god.
Oh, I don't think he is.
You guys remember when we were saying like honk yesterday when you said it right when he said it?
Because just, I was just talking about, like, never mind.
You would have had to be in the conversation to understand.
That was really funny. So,
That was good.
No.
Is it cookie for baby?
No. I can't.
Why you hit it?
no, I didn't know what you said.
Let me write it down.
So you gotta finish 2 and 3.
And to infinity.
People are gonna constantly ask you, what
Hey,
what's
not
your
bad.
on the waves from, and then they're gonna keep doing stuff until they'll look at you, you blow the whistle and say, hey, no, and they'll do it. I'm like, and it's the same person. I'm so upset about that. I'm really, it's a dog. Just breathe. If it's a little kid, I'd be like, okay, well, they don't know that's that.
I don't know how you like
That means he's a little chocolate so can you tell him like if
No, wait, no.
I do. my mom's brother. Yeah, it's not like luckily, yeah. It's like a dialect. You know, like different dialects of languages. Farsi is like, I'm not Iranian, it's like Iranian's. No, they're like right next to us. Yeah. And then the one we speak is I get embarrassed because I don't speak Farsi is different dialect from Farsi, and then the dialect is Spanish. This is Pashto, but we don't yeah, somewhat. But there's another dialect. It's called D. Yeah. No. And then Pashto sounds weird. But I'm not like 100% myself. Like I understand like someone talks to me in person. Well, I speak sometimes I forget, like if I'm like they can say a word to me and like they'll say a sentence and I don't know it. But then like there'll be like a word I forget. I'd be stoned to death over there. Oh, but you said
I don't like women that no, like there you have to wear like this burqa or no, something like that. And it's like over your head, over your face, and only women don't and you can't get them out and you go outside and hang with a man. And you can't like show your face, close your eyes. And even then you can get and it's not like like a loose average understand or
Oh, man.
so that's that's why most of them are in admin, like they're like
Well, I mean, they're like desperate. Like, yeah, it's like common. I don't think you're gonna die, but you're like, I think you're gonna hold on for a while. You know what I mean? Just like, quick. Yeah, and like the altitude too.
I feel like a number one still because there's 26 letters.
Oh. And like his wife is like from, so she was like tackling him for like extortion and like trying to sell their candles. And he didn't even do any of that. It's when you like, if you don't do this, I'll do this. If you don't give me this, like you don't give me this amount of money, then I'll do this. Yeah, and like taking them stuff. He was actually back. He fight back. Yeah, and like she just and you can see like the inside of her arm, and she said that he did it, and he did it. So he's in jail. He has like 20 years left, but he hasn't got sentenced. That's like such a teacher. Yeah, my distant cousin, or not distant cousin, my fifth cousin. Second cousin is like say your mom's son, and your mom's cousin. So your first cousin is like your
What are things teachers write on like tests?
The only thing they don't do is marry each other. They don't marry people. But they'll marry the first cousin that they grew up with.
You and Jimmy cricket.
So I'm doing like, I mean, I would. I don't think it's gonna be incest. No, they're not. They don't know each other. So like, I know people that like grew up married and married.
Any questions here?
Over there, it's like a culture. Here, it's like if you grew up here, then you should know. Actually, I don't think it works that way though. I think someone's serving something. I mean, maybe they'll have like 25 is a lot, but like, is 25 a lot to like make it like save? Yeah, sometimes I say that.
Really?
It was not so like that money on kids.
And then I have to go to. Okay.